I have a really bad picker for reality dating shows. I kind of end up always liking the person that is a villain later on. So I don't know what that says about Nate. Hi, we are Julie and Kelly, and we are here to find love on Michelle's Bachelorette season. We're so excited. I thought we would kick off with our first impressions. First, with our new Bachelorette, and then some of the contestants that we've noticed on her season so far. So, Kelly, what do you think about Michelle so far?
I love Michelle. I think she's
I do
so
too.
freaking cute. Like, I think she's just so cute. Just the way that she carries herself and she talks about herself and the way she is interacting with the other contestants. We'll get into some of the storylines that were panning out in this first episode, but I just loved even the way she handled the Ryan thing. She was just very like, this is my boundary. That's it. Don't cross it. And I appreciate that. I love someone who can just like say how it is, speak up for themselves while also being like, you know, she's just like kind and pleasant and friendly and so nice to be around. Like, not that I'm around her, but she seems serious.
Kelly, what are you doing at night? Are you Tasha and like Caitlin just stalking around her shrubs?
Oh my god. Yeah, so
I get it.
great. Yeah. What did you think about Michelle?
I also love her. I think she's already one of like my favorite Bachelorette leads. First, because
Yeah.
I just deeply respect teachers. I love that she's in education. I love that she's still, I think she went back to school to teach this year. So like she's really passionate about her job. She's not like, sorry, like one of the contestants that are just trying to be like an influencer at the end of it. Like you can tell that she just was like, this is fun, this is cute. I like that she was a late bloomer, that she didn't have like a lot of dating luck in high school. I think that's why her personality is like so strong. So yeah, like her eloquence, the way that she carried herself, the way that she like gave that speech in front of the men. Like I could tell that she was nervous, but she still took her time. She like enunciated every word. She made sure that everyone was being tended to, and she was like, these are the values that I care about. Authenticity and vulnerability. If you give me those two things, I'll give it back to you. Like, it was just so lovely, that energy.
Totally, completely agree. And I really like what you said about there is something about someone who, you know, when someone is so like conventionally attractive from a young age and they kind of like are very used to getting that kind of attention, it does like have an effect on your personality and the way you approach dating. And I feel like so many of the leads on this franchise have been exactly that, the kind of like conventionally super attractive guy or gal. And I think that, and like the kind of people who you can tell like, oh, this person probably like, you know, does fine in their dating life, you know? And so it is really nice. I mean, obviously Michelle is like a fucking bomb and like
So bomb.
just like so beautiful and like so cute and like amazing and incredible. But you're right. It sounds like she was a late bloomer. It sounds like this was like not always, she wasn't always this like glam babe. At some point, like that kind of wasn't her vibe. And I think that shows through her personality. And I love it. It kind of brings a sense of like groundedness and humility while also like confidence in who you are outside of external factors, which I think, again, it's like you can really feel that from her. There's such a confidence and such a assuredness in herself and her values that is just so pleasant. So I'm excited for the season. I think we're gonna get a very different kind of Bachelorette, which I'm really, really excited about.
I do too. I think it's going to be less drama, more love stories, because not only does she just have eloquence like in spades, she understands boundaries because of her parents' relationship. Like for her to understand and observe love in such a deep, meaningful way, she's securely attached. She's not going to go around for bullshit. She's not going to like be attracted to like avoidant or anxious people as much, because she'll be able to like understand that they can't give her what she needs.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I really think that that's true. I think that she has a pretty good handle on what healthy love looks like. Just from what we've seen from her from Matt James' season and from this first episode, it seems like she has a pretty good handle on that. So I look forward to seeing it. Now, The boys, on the other hand, can't exactly tell, like, are they going to be the kind of mature, like, emotionally intelligent, vulnerable people that Michelle is looking for? That's kind of the question mark here. I think, obviously this show, like, will always want to cast a variety of folks. Some people who are a little bit more there for the drama, and some people who are a little bit more, like, legitimate, like, love interests. And so I just hope that there are enough legitimate love interests for Michelle to feel like she can meaningfully connect with someone. So, yeah.
Oh, that's a great point. And that is a very nice segue into, like, the first impressions of some of the men that we've seen so far. The limo entrances were, like, a little bit, like, weird. I saw on Twitter that people were saying that it felt like a hostile work environment because so many people were coming out with, like, Speedos and, like, no pants and, like, I don't know. It just made me feel really deeply uncomfortable. Like, I liked the limo entrances where the guys would just come up to her and be like, I'm really nervous. I want to shake your hand. I'll see you inside.
Exactly.
Like, that felt very genuine, but I do think people feel like they need to have a gimmick. They need to have some stick. It's like who was the guy in the table? Rick was just, like, he was just a long-running gag the entire night. He wasn't a romantic contender to me. It felt like he would just break some hearts in paradise, like, in a few years. I don't think that he's gonna, like, I don't see him as being, like, romance, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see. I feel like once he got out of the table, he seemed more
stable,
like, normal. Like,
yeah, he did. He's so
once
cute.
He got out of the table, he seemed like he was, like, actually trying to connect with her and have an authentic connection with her. It was just like he was just, like, doing the gimmick for too long.
Yeah. It was funny. I liked it, but then it was like, wait, I'm uncomfortable. Like, he was, like, still in the table when they were, like,
I know.
when she was giving the toast. I was like, okay, get out of the table.
That's enough, Rick, please. But yeah,
we get it, Rick.
I agree with what you're saying, that, like, the intros were, like, I mean, they're always, every year I'm always, like, all these, like, gimmicks, I'm just kind of like
over it.
I get that they kind of have to do it to make some intrigue for the first episode, but
yeah,
it just, especially with all the weird teacher jokes, I was just kind of like, like, there are all these, like, sexual teacher jokes, and it's like,
didn't like it.
No, weird line. She's, like, a teacher for, like, 11-year-olds or something. Like, I'm like, what is, like...
Yeah.
There was this kind of, like, this weird line that was being played with, and I was just like, I just don't quite know. And I could tell that she also is like, I don't want to, like, sexualize my role as a teacher because I am a teacher. I'm not, like, in some role play. Like, I'm literally a teacher, and I don't want to, like, create this weird, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna spank a bad student. It's like, she's an actual teacher. She can't really play so much really into those stereotypes, right? Or like, not stereotypes, like fantasies, fetishes, right? Yeah. And like, it's totally fine if that is your, like, kink, but it's just kind of like, she can't really play into it. So I agree with what you said. It kind of felt like a little, like, hostile work environment. Like, she kind of had to play along to be nice, but, like,
she was like, haha. What can I say? Yeah.
Totally. And then I remember there was, like, one guy, like, some guy was like, or a couple different guys, like, would make, like, these, like, sexual jokes, and then she would be like, okay, next. Like, it was very clear that she's not even into, like, the kind of, like, overtly sexual type of flirting. So
yeah,
it was like, so many
what's
guys
your name?
did it.
Yeah, like, tell me that first.
Right. I mean, some people are totally into that. I mean, like, Katie loved, like, the very kind of, like, sexual types of intros, but I think, like, Michelle is, like, kind of not her vibe, and I kind of think the guys kind of, like, botched it a little bit, trying to make that the theme of their intros,
I think so too. It's just like, that is Katie's vibe, but I think with Michelle, she's a lot more, like, mature, and there's, like, an endearingness about her. Like, I think she would have liked it if someone tripped walking up to her and was like, oh my god, I'm so nervous, and, like, oh my god, I really wanted to meet you. Like, I think that's the kind of energy she likes. This is a beautiful moment to talk about Nate, my favorite so far. I love Nate.
Tell us about
future picture of Nate, just so we can all look at him.
Monologue, please, we need to hear it. Tell us all about Nate and how you feel.
I was calling him Naughty for a second because it's the Y is silent, so it was. I thought it was Natey or Naughty. Yeah. Then my little brother was like, "No, it's Nate." Yeah.
And Julie's like, no, it's naughty.
It's naughty. Yeah. That was me just not knowing what was happening on the TV. But yeah, like, I loved him. I thought he was so endearing. I was just telling Kelly this, but I have a tendency to, like, pick villains. I have a really bad picker for reality dating shows. I kind of end up always liking the person that is a villain later on. So I don't know what that says about Nate. But I liked how he came across to Michelle. I liked how he was very, like, awkward and vulnerable, and like what Michelle said, he clearly broke a wall when he was talking to her. He was like, I don't really open up like this, and you could tell that he was, like, nervous. The tension was very, like, palpable. But Michelle, like, appreciated that effort. So
yeah,
I liked him.
Validated it.
Yeah. And I like that I don't like being a heightist, but he's very tall. And he's really, like, they look aesthetically really cute together.
I completely agree. I think, like,
right?
aesthetically,
Okay.
I was like, he was definitely the most, like, handsome. I was like, oh my goodness, they really like brought out the big guns for Michelle's season. Like, gosh. So I completely agree with that. And yeah, I agree. I really liked Nate. The previews have kind of teased him as being a potential villain later in the season. I'm kind of hoping that that's a fake out. You know, they fake things out like that sometimes. So, but I guess we'll see. So far, I feel like I didn't really see any red flags from him. So if he's fooling us all, he's fooling us all well.
Mm-hmm. And this is why, like, first impressions, it's so hard to, like, know, right? Like, if you can really trust that initial spark, because I think Michelle was only nervous around Nate. She was, like, stuttering a little bit when she was around him. Did you notice her stammering? A little
bit like butterfly,
a little bit
vibes.
Of her, just being like, oh, this is real. So that's what I thought about Nate. Did you have any other thoughts about him? The man of the hour?
No. The man of the hour.
Yeah.
No other thoughts about Nate, but I appreciate that you have, admitted to our audience your tendency to fall for the villains, because
it's so bad.
That very nicely leads us to the fact that me and Julie are both participating in a fantasy league, and it is the First Impressions League, which means that now that we've seen the first episode, we're going to be trying to make our picks and, like, try to figure out who is going to make it to the end of the season based on just this one episode. So it's going to be hard, and both me and Julie don't have a great track record of guessing this very well. So it's going to be really fun. We're probably going to do a separate video where we will film ourselves filling out our brackets. Make sure you subscribe to our channel so you can watch that video when it comes out. It's going to be really fun. We'll do it in a really casual way, just kind of showing you who we're picking.
You'll see watch me just pick all of the villains, because I don't know why I do it. Like, when I watch Love Island with my friends, I always pick the one that, like, ends up being hated by the UK. I'm like, what am I doing? I just have a thing for bad guys, I guess, on TV.
That's hilarious.
Not in real life, I hope. Yeah, I know.
All right, speaking of trash men, let's talk about Ryan.
Ryan, oh my God, were you not dying over his photo?
I
like how he spelled it wrong. And the little rose on the red folder that he specifically picked out because of the rose, like, it's just so... Okay, first off, when I saw him, I was like, Ryan, okay, I kind of like him. See, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I was like, good impression. I like his hair. I like his body. I know, it's really bad. It's only confined to reality TV, guys, I swear. But yeah, I thought he was kind of cool. I liked his whole ice cream date thing. I mean, I did see the binder and I was like, that's a red flag. But he was just like, the way that Michelle was interpreting him, like, in the moment, I think a lot of people would interpret that kind of energy. It's, like, very focused, but it's very, like, diffused. It's very, like, I like the things that you like, but I'm not coming on too strong. I'm being romantic, but it's not cheesy. Like, he was really towing a really fine line, but it was because of strategy. It wasn't, like, authentic from him. And then when she walked him out and he was like, can I change your mind? She was like, no. And he kept asking.
No.
I was like, dude, she doesn't
like,
consent to the relationship.
Off.
Let it go.
She said no, like, back off. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I didn't really like him from the beginning. Like, he was one of the little teaser previews, I think, in the beginning of the episode, and I was like, when they first showed him, I was just like, ugh. I just kind of got, like, a grimy vibe from him. Like a sweaty, grimy kind of vibe. Which is okay. It's okay if you're sweaty. Like, I mean, I was, like, sweating so much all day today. But, like, you know, I don't know. I just kind of got a weird vibe from him. So I wasn't surprised, honestly, that he ended up being the spreadsheet guy or the folder guy. I just, you know, I don't know. I'm happy that she sent him home immediately because it's kind of like there's no return from there. It's just kind of like you were literally writing down, like, how to get screen time. Like, clearly this is not about Michelle. And so I think it's as simple as that. Like, obviously Michelle is here to find a husband or whatever. And, like, I think it's as simple as that. I'm so happy to see people listening to the red flags or, like, taking red flags seriously. We love to see it. And, you know, yeah, I don't know. I guess that's really all I have to say about that.
I think that we can talk about Clayton.
All right, spoiler alert. If you don't have spoilers, I'm guessing you have this spoiler about Clayton. But if you don't, fast forward past this section. Clayton, the next Bachelor. As most of us probably already know, Clayton is going to be the next Bachelor. And so, I mean, he appeared this episode, but I don't know. I didn't really get much from him. He seemed pretty vanilla. I mean, he seemed nice. He's attractive. But I was just kind of like, okay.
Yeah. And?
Yeah.
What's different about you, Clayton?
Right.
Yeah.
It's like this is the guy, this is what they're giving us. This is the Bachelor. This is who they want us to fall in love with. I don't know. I was just a little underwhelmed, I don't know, he seems fine. Wonder bread. That's what I like to say. Like, just wonder bread. Like, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
He just seems like every other guy, like, on Hinge in the Midwest. Like, 6'6", former D1 player. I was dead when he had his jersey hung in a frame behind glass. I was like, okay.
Another good example of, like, first impressions don't tell you much. Like, I feel like if I didn't know that Clayton was going to be the Bachelor, I would not, like, rank him particularly highly. Like, I wouldn't have even noticed him. I would just be like, okay, there's another, like, big white guy. Like, I don't know. I just don't think it would have, like, processed him whatsoever. So, you know, it's another good example of, like, first impressions aren't necessarily everything because, you know, if we were going by first impressions, you know, this guy kind of blended it into the background, frankly.
For sure. So. Yeah, he did. He was just Wonder Bread, like you said.
Yeah.
I do think that Michelle's cast, and you pointed this out, Kelly, is a lot more diverse. Like, there were some, like...
Yeah, that is true.
He's the first Indian contestant on The Bachelorette. He's really cute. Didn't get a ton of airtime,
so
much
cute.
like Garrett. Do you see Garrett, the tech CEO? He's cute.
I do think that there was another Indian guy on The Bachelorette at some point. I can't remember who he was, but Pradeep, I thought he was so cute. Like, I really, really liked him. I mean, yeah, I did appreciate that the cast is very diverse. There is something that, at least for me, that is very comforting and attractive. Like, one thing that I don't like about The Bachelorette in general as a show is just that, I don't know, all the kind of, like, conventionally attractive men, and when I say that, I typically mean just, like, white guys, like the kind of guys that most of America kind of heralds as attractive. Like, that, it's just so often that being heralded as being the stereotype of attractiveness just, like, tends to, like, bolster your confidence in such a way that it can kind of create some weird personality quirks, I feel like. And so and so it just, watching The Bachelorette, it just so often feels like a bunch of guys trying to be like, I'm the alpha, like, I always feels like that's kind of, like, the vibe of The Bachelorette, which is why I always find it to be a little bit less fun to watch, as opposed to The Bachelor, where it's just like all these girls who are all like really pretty in different ways. They're generally like nice to each other, not always, but usually they're like, you know, friendly with each other, and they're like not trying to like bump chests, you know, which is like, that's the thing about The Bachelor that can be really annoying to me. But I do feel like something about this season's cast, and I guess we'll see. I mean, the teasers have shown us that there probably are going to be a lot of still, you know, silly boy fights, but
as it is,
the cast, it just, there's something about them that is just, because of how diverse they are, it just feels a little bit more like, I don't know, every single guy of color is getting his own edit and storyline, and getting to have his own like personality outside of being like the one black guy or the one Asian guy or the one whatever, right? Because there's just so many different guys there of different ethnicities. And so I think that is something that's like really nice, and to me it feels like almost like fresh, like on this show. It feels like we're getting different types of personalities on the show, and that to me is like really interesting and makes me excited for the season. It just makes me feel like we're gonna get just different types of people, as opposed to the usual like, I have a chiseled jawline and like my hair does this with it, and like I'm gonna puff my chest. Dude, I think it's just gonna be nice to see a different type of guy kind of appearing on this show.
This leads us into so one of the contestants that I was like, this is very interesting, just like him and Michelle's origin story, Joe. So with Joe, I think that Joe is really interesting because he was biracial and he lived in Minnesota. Obviously there's a lot of like good impressions there. What I thought was interesting was how he ghosted her. I loved how Michelle handled the conversation. I didn't love that she like kept him on the show.
I agree with that completely. It's just like he already ghosted her. He kind of already indicated that he wasn't that interested in her. And it's like, what, he's suddenly interested in her now that she's the Bachelorette? Like, that does feel a little bit like weird. Now, I will say that, I mean, I do think that ghosting, I mean, it's just disrespectful. Now, it's not clear to me what the nature of their relationship is. I don't think that they had actually been talking for a meaningful amount of time.
I think they just DM'd. I think she DM'd him, and then he dropped it.
Exactly. Well, so like in that kind of situation, like it's different. It's not like they had gone on a couple of dates and then he just ghosted her. It's like they were just DMing and he was just, you know, they were just strangers on the internet DMing. And so that to me feels a little bit less like true ghosting and more like, you know, I feel like it is possible for people to kind of just like lose track of some threads when, I don't know, if they have a lot going on in their life. Yeah, so I think it does happen, and in a case like this where it's not like they were actually had any kind of relationship to each other, like I do think it's fine. Like, you don't have to tell every single person who you're DMing with, like, hey, by the way, I don't really want to DM you anymore. Like, you don't necessarily need to do that. But if you've already started, like, talking to someone meaningfully on a dating app, or, like, if you have gone on a date with someone or gone on dates with someone, like, I do think in those situations, like, what are you doing? Like, you don't need to ghost someone. You can just say, like, hey, I had fun getting to know you. I don't think there's a spark there. You know, like, wishing you all the best. So simple, so easy. Doesn't need to be dramatic, painful, hard, weird, awkward. It's just, you're just letting that person know so they're not like waiting around for your next message. Like, let them go. If you're not into them, like, let them go. Let them go do their thing.
I hate the slow fade away where it's like, I don't really want to get into the hard conversation. I don't want to deal with hurt feelings. It's like, what do you think, how they're going to be like interpreting it? Like, you can just say one simple message and let them go with a lot of like peace and love.
Right.
This is, I don't know, like, I do hear what you're saying about how it was just a very simple DM and he didn't have to pick it up. I loved how,
I can't tell. That's my theory.
I don't know if that's going to point towards anything later on, but I think it just shows bad and weak communication. I feel like ghosting is just such a perfect and easy indicator that this person has, like, intimacy issues. Like, they don't have healthy communication if they can't lovingly let someone go.
It's okay if she wanted to just give him a second chance. That's okay. I think second chances can be important and meaningful. I do think it's, you know, it's, these days sometimes people do just drop the ball, and, you know, there's a lot going on in the world, and it's okay. Like, you know, I'm sure I've dropped the ball on plenty of people, and I think the main thing here is just to really understand. I hope Joe really understands, like, hey, like, ghosting is really not cool, and you need to be able to have those tough conversations and to lovingly let people go if you're not into them, and to be able to show care for people, even the people that you don't want to date. I always say that. It's like, you don't have to want to date someone to show care for them. You don't want, you know, you don't want people to feel, you don't want to have bad feelings out in the universe. So it's like, protect people's feelings, and then dating will be easier. And so, like, I think ghosting is like one of the prime examples of that. Just like, be nice to people.
Gosh.
That's all. And so I hope that he doesn't show any more of, like, it, like, let's see how he behaves in this season, and if he indicates that he's willing to kind of care for Michelle's feelings. But if he doesn't, I do think that she should just, you know, that's all right. This is already his second chance. He's on his last, this is his last try.
Yeah, I agree what you said about ghosting, though. I think that I'm already just kind of side-eyeing him. I don't love him already. I feel like it's a little bit opportunistic for him to be back right now.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do think there is a little bit of a, like a, just a question mark. And I think Michelle's smart. I think she also has a question mark there, but she just, I get it. I do get that you have to kind of follow your heart sometimes. And if you are into someone, you do need to just, like, explore that and make sure, you know, you can reinforce what your opinion is of that person. And I do think that that's going to be easy enough. I think she'll be able to tell after hanging out with him, like, once or twice, like, whether or not he's the real deal, whether or not it was true that he was just overwhelmed, or if it was indicative of more of his personality.
Yeah. That's a great ending point to, like, sum up all of the first impressions on. We'll see what comes out of these guys. I'm pretty excited for her season. I think it's going to be pretty cute. I think it's going to be really romantic. Yeah. I think it's going to be low drama, which is all we can hope for after Bib.
All we can hope for. Oh my goodness. All right, y'all. Well, that's all for today's video. We are so excited for Michelle's season of The Bachelorette. We'll be recapping every episode and posting videos every week. So make sure you're subscribed to our channel. Hit that notification bell so you get notifications when we upload. And we will see y'all next week. Bye.
Bye.